Yesterday we have seen call, bind and apply, and all these things are related to this keyword. So first we have understood what do you mean by this keyword. First we have understood what do you mean by this keyword. Then we have seen what exactly meant by call, bind and apply. And now today we will see another way of object creation. That is nothing but what? Classes and objects. We will start with something called as object oriented principles, and that is nothing but what? Classes and objects. So what do you mean by class? Can you tell me? What do you mean by class? Hello? What?
It is defined behavior and properties and methods.
Yeah, when you say class, it is nothing but the behavior, a combination of state and behavior. Combination of what? State and behavior. So new folder and day 53, readme.md, and here we can say classes and objects. Classes and objects. So when you say classes and object, first we need to understand what do you mean by class. In the constructor functions, I told you that this thing, function book, this would be considered as a classes in previous days of ES6. Before ES6 it was used as class, which would be having this thing is called as state, properties are called as state, and methods within the class is called as behavior. State and behavior. Same analogy can be applied over here. Same analogy can be applied over here. In day 53, let me new file app01.js, and whenever you say, so it would be something like this. Whenever you say car can have brakes, right? Car can have brakes, and even you can say car can move. Car can move in certain direction with speed, and car can have brakes. Car can have brakes. Car can speed up or apply brakes. Car can speed up or apply brakes. Car can speed up or apply what? brakes. So this is my requirement. This is the requirement from client. You understood the requirement, right? So there is a car. Car can move in certain direction with some speed. Then car can apply the brakes and car can speed up. Car can what? Speed up. So if this is your requirement, how do you design the system for it? You want to convert this into the code. And how can you do that? If you want to do that, this can be represented in a software systems. This can be represented in a software systems with the help of something called as classes. So what we will do, we will create something called as class. That class can have something, that class can have one property or the behavior, and that is called as speed. Behavior that is called as speed. Also, car can have something called as two methods. Car can have something called as two methods. And those methods can be speed up or apply brakes. Speed up or what? Apply brakes. Now, let's try to write this thing. This can be represented by means of the constructor function car. Remember that this is a function, constructor function car. This would be having this dot speed is equals to something 10 default speed, and it can have this dot speed up is equals to function, and here this dot apply brakes is equals to a function. This dot apply brakes is a function. Correct? This dot speed up, this dot apply brakes. Am I audible? Hello?
Yes.
And here this thing is called as class. You can consider this constructor function as class. Before ES6 I will write before ES6, but same thing can be represented in ES6 by means of, I can say car, or you can say branded car. Branded car. Can you see? And inside this I can say constructor. And here I can say this dot speed is equals to 10. And here I can say speed up, and here apply brakes, and here what? Apply brakes. So if you look at this constructor function, and if you look at this class keyword, constructor function is nothing but what? Constructor function is nothing but a normal function, but that can be used as a class before ES6. This is the brand new property class keyword you have received in ES6. In what? ES6. So constructor this dot speed. So here you can speed up means what? This dot speed plus equals to 10, and apply brakes, reduce the speed, this dot speed minus equals to 10. So when you talk about class, so both are the classes, remember that. Both are the classes, both represent classes in JavaScript, but there is a version difference. Correct?
Yes.
Hello?
So before ES6,
Uh-huh.
how can we apply speed or speed up plus minus?
Yeah, same thing. This dot,
Huh.
this
Yes.
dot speed
Speed
plus equals to 10.
10.
This dot speed minus equals to 10.
Yes.
Same thing. Now how do you create the so this thing is this template. So this is just a structure. It has no existence in the memory. Well, it has existence, but let's consider right now for simplicity, it has no existence in the memory. But technically it gets stored at one location. We'll see that later on, or just forget about that right now. But if you want to use, so remember that we are understanding the objects. You can create object by means of object literal notation. You can create object by means of constructor functions. You can create object by means of classes. Okay. Now, how do you create object over here? The same thing, const C1 is equals to new car. Can you see here? New car. And const C2 is equals to new branded car. Both are the objects. This is also one object. This is also one object. Now see, by means of this, you can call a method speed up, right? And C1 dot apply brakes. So we can print the current speed. Here we can say this dot current speed, or print speed is equals to a function. And here we can say console.log speed is this dot speed. And here we can say print speed console.log speed is this dot speed. So here we can say C1 dot print speed, and here you can say C2 dot print speed. CD day 53, CD dot dot CD day 53, node app01.js. Can you see speed is 12 over here? speed up, apply brakes, and the speed. And here you are printing speed is 10. Right? Can you see here constructor keyword is used? Here there is no constructor keyword.
Constructor.
Now, what is the purpose of constructor keyword? What is the purpose of constructor keyword? Basics of the class. See now, in the context of the programming, class is a blueprint or a template for creating objects. It defines type of object with properties and methods that can be shared among multiple instances of that type, which means that here you have created C2. Similarly, you can create const C3 is equals to new branded car, and here C3 dot speed up and C3 dot apply brakes. Getting my point? Hello?
Yes.
So meaning of this line is nothing but, in the context of programming, class is the blueprint or template for creating the object. It defines a type of object with properties and methods that can be shared among the multiple instances of that type. Classes are the fundamental concepts in the object-oriented programming. We are going to see that shortly. Here are some key points about the classes: blueprint or a template, objects, constructor, properties, state, and behavior. Right? Properties, state, and what? Behavior. Now here, what do you mean by blueprint or template? A class acts as a blueprint or template for creating object. It defines the structure, means properties, behavior means methods. Remember that this speed is called as state or the property. So branded car is represented by its state. Branded car is represented by something else like color. Branded car is represented by name. So when you say there is a branded car, means what exactly you are specifying? When you say there is a branded car, so branded car is represented by speed, color, price. So all those three things becomes the properties. So branded car is represented by speed, color, and the price. So speed, color, and the price become what? Properties. The methods which are getting applied on the properties, methods that are getting applied on the properties are called as behavior. These are the methods that work on the properties of the class. These are the methods that work on properties of the class, and those methods are also called as behavior. So in general terms, instead of properties, we call it as a state. So whenever I say what is the state of the object, you will always consider I'm talking about the properties. State of the object means what? Properties. Then the methods are called as behavior. They are important, which means that applying brake is a behavior. Applying brake is a behavior. printing the speed on the dashboard is behavior. Print speed works with speed. Speed up also works with what? Speed. So speed, so you can consider that speed is the property, and these three are the methods. Remember that same is true about this constructor function. Analogy is same. This is the property, and these are nothing but what? Behavior. Analogy is same. There is no difference. So I told you, whenever we have seen the basics of constructor function, I told you I will come back to the constructor function again. And it is nothing but this. Right? Okay. Now, when you talk about a special thing called as constructor, see, class or a blueprint, a class acts as a blueprint or a template for creating object. It defines the structure, properties and behavior that object class will have, objects, here you can say, are the instances of the class. When you create the object based on a class, you are instantiating that class to create the specific instance within its own unique data. Let's go here. So C1 is having some unique data, C2 is having some unique data, C3 is having some unique data. So C1, C2, C3 are called as instances of the class. What they are called as? Instances of the class. Okay. So objects are the instances of a class with the specific value. Now constructor, we didn't use a constructor yet. See now, a constructor is a special method within a class that is automatically called when object is created. So this is not true about, so this is something else about this thing, but it's same. If you see here, so we are talking about this constructor, right? Constructor, whenever you do something like this, const C2 is equals to new branded car, automatically this thing would be getting called. When you create the object, C2 is equals to new branded car, C3 is equals to new branded car, internally this thing gets invoked automatically. Whenever you create the object, at the time of object creation, one special method gets invoked. That is nothing but what the constructor is. At the time of, I'm saying again, at the time of object creation, a special method is getting invoked, and that method is called as constructor. That method is called as what? Constructor. So what is the purpose of the constructor? Initializing the state. Can you see? It is used to initialize the object properties and set up its initial state. So presently we are assigning this to the 10. So whenever you create the object of the car or the branded car, the initial value of the speed, which is nothing but the state, would be 10. You can get this value from here also. So this dot speed is equals to what? This speed. So here you can pass 20, here you can pass 30, right? See here speed is 12 and here speed is 20. Hello? So we didn't call print speed over here, C3 dot print speed. 12, 20, 30. 12, 20, 30. You got it. What do you mean by constructor? A special function within a class that is automatically called when object is created. It is used to initialize the object's properties and set up the initial state. Properties. Properties are the variables or the data members that are associated with a class. They represent, the properties are the variables or the data members associated with the class. They represent the characteristics or the attributes of the objects. Right? Methods. Methods are the functions that define within our class. They represent a behavior or actions. They represent behavior or actions that object of a class can perform. Methods are the functions that are defined within the class. They represent the behavior or the actions that object can perform, right? These are nothing but what? Behaviors. What is an object? Here you can say. So here if you see, so few things we have used over here, that is new and branded car. An object of a class is the instance of that class. In object-oriented programming, a class serves as a blueprint or a template for creating the objects. So when you create an object based on a class, you are instantiating that class to the specific instance with its unique data. If you see here, so this object is having speed as 20, this object is having speed as 30, unique data. So here is the breakdown of the terminology. Class A, class, object, and object of a class. So class, a blueprint or a template that we have seen, which is having state and behavior. Object, an object is an instance of a class. It is a concrete realization. Remember that this is just a template. This is just a template. This is just a template. It has no specific, you can say, existence. Object. An object is an instance of a class. It is a concrete realization of the class representing a specific entity with its own properties and the behavior. So on the button click, if you want to click the button and increase the speed, you will need this object and not this structure. So what do you need? So on the button click, if you want to increase the speed, you need this thing, new object, which is stored in the C2. So on the button click, you will do C2 dot increase speed, C3 dot, or another button click would be there, and on that button click you will say C2 dot apply brake. Right? Object of a class, when you create the instance of a class, you are creating an object of that class. This involves using a new keyword to instantiate the class, which calls the class constructor and set up the initial state. Remember that constructor is a special function which is used at the time of creating object. What is the purpose of the constructor? Constructor is used to initialize the state, initial state. Initial state. Later on we can change it, but initial state would be assigned in a constructor. Okay, now what is the new keyword? In the context of the ES6 classes and object, the new keyword is used to create the instance of a class. The new keyword is used to create the instance of a class. It is an essential part of the object instantiation. When you use a new followed by the class constructor, see, in here also this thing is called as constructor here in constructor functions, and here also this thing internally called the constructor, and this is also itself is a constructor function. So new plus constructor, see here. So if you see, when you use a new followed by a class constructor, it performs the several actions to create and initialize the object. Object creation, the new keyword creates the empty object, setting this context. Remember that this is getting assigned. It sets the this keyword within the constructor to refer a newly created object. It sets this keyword within the constructor to refer to the newly created object. Constructor invocation. Class constructor is then invoked. Class constructor is then invoked within this context to set new object. To set what? New object. Implicit return. If class constructor does not explicitly return the object, the new expression automatically returns the newly created object. See what is the process? When you say new keyword, empty object would be getting created. This keyword, this would be assigned to the within the constructor. Constructor invocation. A class constructor is invoked with this context to set a new object. Means here actually data would be getting assigned to the properties. Implicit return, and new keyword automatically returns newly created object. So whenever you do new keyword like this, first empty object would be getting created, then this would be assigned inside this object, then data would be getting initialized by means of this keyword, and implicitly newly created object would be getting returned, right? So this is the process of creating a template and creating the object. I am pushing this much code. JavaScript classes. Again, we are going to see this thing tomorrow in detail. We are going to create some classes and we are going to use them. Whenever we will learn the DOM manipulation, you will have a clear idea on this. Okay. So I have pushed the code. Please do revision and you can ask me questions tomorrow. Okay. Yeah. Thank you.